More than 600 miles from here in the southern Mexican city of Culiacan, a violent showdown a few weeks ago could have ramifications for the entire country after federal law enforcement arrested the son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The Sinaloa cartel staged a deadly counterattack for his release that included blocking routes to the city and taking the families of soldiers hostage. As for its implications, we learn more from Javier Osorio, an expert in cartel violence at the University of Arizona School of Government and Public Policy.
This is something that we have never seen before in Mexico, this large flexing muscle of an organized criminal group at this scale. We're talking about probably 300 heavily armed hitmen operated in a very coordinated fashion. And also something very important, they were very disciplined. They were not just conducting crazy violence. They had a strategy behind that.
This week, Mexico's federal government offered a timeline of last month's clashes and released video recorded by soldiers that shows when they arrested El Chapo's son at his home. The Associated Press reports that soldiers forced him to get his brother on the phone and call off the attack. Instead, his brother refuses. Another video shows a wounded soldier in the back of a truck as gunfire sounds off all around his group. In the last month, throughout 3 Mexican states, dozens have died, including civilians, nearly 15 police officers, and a National Guard soldier.
The government decided not to continue with the arrest and actually released the son of the Chapo Guzman. The criminal organizations, there were recordings of audio in radio conversations that they were given instructions to stop shooting, to withdraw. So that speaks of a very large organized group capable of inflicting a lot of harm, not only to civilians, but also to making the government bend the knee.
For many of us on the outside looking in, we thought Chapo Guzman was the most violent tyrant in Mexico. Is it possible that his son and whoever succeeds this cartel is even worse?
The level of violence that we saw this time was something of notice this time, because by the size of the deployment, by the weaponry that they showed, and the most important innovation is not only the scale, but taking civilians as a bargaining chip with the government. That is something new, potentially very, very violent and dangerous for society. Right now, society suffers a lot of violence from criminals, pretty much by extortion or kidnapping, which are very targeted, individualized actions. This is not widespread and indiscriminate violence against civilians. And this is something that now has the potential of becoming a new tactic, not only for this cartel, but there are many other cartels in the country. And if they realize that putting civilians as human shields is a successful strategy to make the government back down, there's a possibility that these other criminal groups will start using this tactic.
You're a security analyst. I mean, you look at this from a big picture standpoint. We often hear that if you're not involved in these types of illicit activities, you should be safe, you shouldn't have any problems. But you also just described that these operations are becoming more bold and brazen. That means the civilian population is at an increased risk. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The consequence of the government cracking down on international trade of drugs, basically that hurts the economic benefits from international or transnational criminal organizations. But they still remain with a lot of capacity for enforcement, for violence. And if their income from international trade goes down, they're going to use that violence to put their money up. And they do that by kidnapping and extortion and killing people. Increasingly in a more indiscriminate way. Is not only the super wealthy businessman or the elites, now they go pretty much after anyone.
Much of the recent violence has occurred in the southern states of Mexico. What are the chances of it escalating north toward the Arizona border, and what does this mean for us here in the United States?
Well, violence at the border has always been very high. The North and the South are not very different. They just change their seasons and they have peaks and valleys of violence. So most likely violence are still is going to be up. Last month was historically the most violent month in the record of modern Mexican history. And unfortunately, I don't think things will change for good. What we might see in our borders is, unfortunately, probably since violence might become a lot more indiscriminate, targeting civilians, we might see civilians being pushed out of their communities, fleeing violence, and we might actually see more people coming here to the U.S. border trying to seek asylum for protection.
The weaponry that you described that's been used in many of these attacks, where is it coming from, given that you can't even own a handgun in Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico has very restrictive laws for guns, so all these guns are acquired in illicit networks. The vast majority of all these guns, and we're talking very heavy weaponry, come from the U.S. These are not just .22 caliber pistols, right? We're talking about assault rifles, grenade launchers, military-grade machine guns that you put on top of tanks or Humvees. This is the kind of weaponry that criminal organizations use against the government and against also other cartels. That is a very strong point that the Mexican authorities haven't been able to actually put sufficiently strong on the table with the U.S. because the drugs are flowing up from Mexico to the U.S., but the money and the weapons are flowing down from the U.S. to Mexico.